To Flavor Profiles. I'm Nat,
And I'm Matt.
and today we are kind of doing a two for one episode. We actually had recorded uh, a set review for Modern Horizons already, but some of the audio was funky, so we are basically re recording that with some new insight because Amsterdam has happened since that happened. Um, and we're also going to stick on Assassin's Creed. So we're going to talk about both sets because Bloomborough previews are already happening. So we need to stay on top of it. We are going to go through both. Um, but yeah, we'll start with our 10 seconds first, though. Matt, what is your 10 seconds?
Well, today, even though we're already experiencing the heat of summer, we went on a little family adventure to Wolf Trap. And if you're not from the DC area or haven't spent time out here, Wolf Trap's a national park that has a very great outdoor live music venue. So we went this morning. They have a children's stage where they bring in like kids musical acts from around the country, and ended up seeing some group called the Red Pants Band, which I'm like, okay, this kids music. I'm like, okay, this is actually really good. I'm like, why does this guy sound kind of familiar to me? Like that his name is familiar and all that. And my wife goes, oh yeah, he plays with They Might Be Giants. I was like, really? Since when? And I looked it up and I was like, oh, he was on the tour when I first saw them in college. I'm like, oh, this is like a full circle thing in a way, like inadvertently introducing our son to music that I enjoyed.
That's really cool, though.
And it was like shaded. It was like a really cool venue with all these just kind of benches in the woods, good acoustics, great sound for outdoors. And then it got up to 110 and we left.
Yeah, true.
How about you?
So my 10 seconds is people probably have seen me posting about this all over the place, but one of my favorite shows is out with a new season. It's called The Mole. Um, it's related to the old mole that like happened forever ago.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Is
but
it a
it's like
reboot?
it's like newer, more modern. Um, but yeah, it's I I love detecting, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Um I love puzzles and trying to like solve things, and so it's one of my favorite shows for that reason because basically the show premise is like there's someone, it's very similar to Among Us. There's someone who's an imposter and they're trying to basically sabotage the rest of the group from earning money, and the audience also does not know who this imposter is, so it's kind of fun, like from an audience
Hmm.
perspective. You kind of like get to watch it and guess like who you think is the mole, and it's, you know, there's not a whole lot of like, there's a little bit of like social aspect, but it's mostly just like the challenges and the like elimination quizzes they take. So basically they get eliminated based
Mm-hmm.
on if they like how well they think they know who the mole is. So like the questions revolve around, was the mole in this group today? Was the mole wearing this color today? Does the mole have this color
Mm-hmm.
hair? Kind of thing. And so whoever gets the least amount of questions correct ends up going home. So um, basically that's the entire show. And I am all caught up. We're like on episode 9 or 10 now, I think. So
Mm-hmm. I remember when the first Mole came out back in the big like reality TV boom when Survivor was getting
mm-hmm.
big and everyone was coming up with a different spin on that. And there was an open call, I guess they did, if you wanted to be on the mole. And so everyone was like, people I knew were sending in videos to try and be guests on it.
I think if I was ever on a reality show, it would be that one for sure. That one, or the circle maybe like as a second option, but
Mhm.
the mole for sure because I love deducting, and you know, it's just
Having
like
played Among Us with you, I mean, I think I already know what role you would be.
they would pick me for the mole.
Even if they didn't, you would make yourself the mole.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what people do. People kind of like sabotage to and not like very sneakily to try to like make people suspect them, so that way other people like get questions wrong.
Oh, you'd have
So
too much fun as an agent of chaos on that, and I
yeah.
fully support you being a cast member. If you're out there, producers, put Nat on the mole. You will not be sorry. You might have a dead body to hide at some point, or four.
No, no.
Guess I gotta add another thing to my
Anyways,
watch list.
yeah. Honestly, though, there's 2 seasons, so you have a whole first season to watch
Okay.
and the second season to catch up. There's a few Magic people who are watching it right now, and I'm like in
Mhm.
DMs with like all of them. So like Daniel Holt also watches
Uh-huh.
it, so we've been talking, and then
Mhm.
Corey from the Cast podcast
Mhm.
um has also been watching it, so we've been chatting, and then um blanking on his name, but he used to work for Ultra Pro. We've been talking about it too.
Mhm.
So I'm like, it's really interesting to hear like what people think, like who they think is like the mole and like who they want to win. And it's like varies from person to person. So it's really interesting.
Well, now I'm excited. I need another mystery in my life.
It's such a good show. It's very binge worthy. Um, all right, so let's get into it before we get like way too off topic because I could talk about this like all day. Um, Modern Horizons. Let's start there. So we both went to Command Fests.
Mhm.
That happened.
3 weeks
Um,
ago? 3 and 4 weeks ago?
yeah, almost a month now, which is
Mhm.
crazy. Um, you went to Command Fest Atlanta,
Mhm.
and I went to Command Fest Tacoma, and both Command Fests were Modern Horizons 3 themed. I think correct.
Yep. Yep. It officially dropped. I think at
Tacoma.
Tacoma,
Mhm.
and pre-release was during Atlanta.
Mhm. Yeah. So we both got to kind of look at cards from the set, play with cards from the set. Um,
I did a draft from the set, and I know you did
mhm.
some of the commander decks from the set.
Yeah, I also drafted in the early access event for Modern Horizons,
Mhm.
and I also did a Modern Horizons draft. I got pulled into one at the last minute in Tacoma, and what did you think about drafting this set? It wasn't my favorite set to draft, I will say.
I I'm not a big drafter. I'm getting more and more into it because I have some really good friends who are just limited fanatics
Mm-hmm.
locally, and one of the group has just a closet of sealed product, and every other week there's a vote in our Discord of what do we want to draft this week, and everyone chips in and shows up. But I mean, it was kind of weird, and I haven't determined really what to base that on because limited experience. But part of me wants to think that it's the play booster and the card distribution in it,
Okay.
because I just remember opening packs and being like, these are really weird. I mean, I'd be forced into some really cool commons and uncommons in this set,
Yeah, yeah.
which you've talked about as being one of the main bases for how you value a set before it comes out in previews. So that
Mm-hmm.
was neat to look at. But I know that deep inside there were like one or two kind of bigger rares, mythics, or bombs. I was like, I kind of hoping to pull because I wasn't gonna invest heavily in the set. And I just got a whole lot of duplication for a set with as
Mm-hmm.
many cards as it had.
Mm-hmm.
Like my first two packs had Winter Moons in them. One of them was two medallions on either side of it, which of course I took the medallion because I always need another in one of the
Sure.
color or the other. So really going around it, I think I also made the mistake of doing the draft like a commander player of, oh, this will be good now and I can build around it, but I'm thinking of future builds.
Mm-hmm.
I still had fun. I built a little Boros kind of jank deck that was trying to do indirect damage and maybe leverage a little bit of energy.
Yeah. In my draft, I ended up going Azorius just because I had a lot of flyers. People kept passing that like Riddle Gate Gargoyle, I think is the name of the card,
Hmm.
the Azorius flyer. People just kept handing me that, so I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna go Azorius flying. Flying is always pretty safe in
Hmm.
limited, so I did okay. I did okay with that
Hmm.
deck. We were playing single elimination though, and
Hmm.
it was around dinner time, and so I kind of, not that I threw, but like I was kind of okay with getting eliminated just so I could go eat.
Yeah, sometimes you gotta just take the L, give up the pack to go get food.
Hmm. Yeah,
And usually you get the better stories out of food because you'll go out with others at a con and
yeah.
have more fun with it. What did
Um,
you think about the Eldrazi in the draft? Because anyone I played against who started building around Eldrazi just steamrolled me.
honestly, I didn't really play against many Eldrazi decks in the early access draft or the draft I played in at the
Hmm.
event. I don't know if people just weren't pulling Eldrazi or what was happening, but I didn't really play against many Eldrazi. I heard that that was like the way to go, but like I never really encountered that.
There were some strong, like, common, uncommon, devoid cards
Mm-hmm.
across the board that could just get gnarly. But also, they kept throwing me off because they were so stacked with text,
Mm.
and there wasn't a clear consistency in the ordering of how they listed the abilities. So I'd keep attacking with flyers and miss that, oh, two of these have reach because it's written like all the way at the bottom, and then another one would have it written at the top. So I'd keep kind of
I
either having someone go, "You want to take that back?" or like, "Nah, I kind of already went for it. I deserve it."
I do wish they would just keep putting keywords at the top, like
Hmm.
regardless of what other text is on the card, because that happened a lot in this set.
Hmm.
Um,
Which
so
just visually makes it difficult and awkward, I think.
yeah, I mean, it is more difficult for new players too because the first thing you want to be able to see is kind of what matters, what's most important, and that's usually keywords. So,
Yeah,
um,
that's kind of the basis for how you learn.
we also, I also got to play a lot of the commander decks
Hmm.
for Modern Horizons, and at this point, I've seen a lot of them played. I've played in two pre-con games, and then I went to an LGS Commander night the other night where people played more of the pre-cons.
Hmm.
So, my opinions on the pre-cons. I think my favorite pre-con personally is the energy pre-con. I loved
Hmm.
it. It was so much fun. Finally felt like energy actually worked.
Hmm.
Like you actually had enough energy in your energy reserve to actually like do things with the energy cards, which is great. That's
Hmm.
what you want to do with those decks. Um, I also liked the Goyf deck, the Lure Goyf,
Hmm.
Tarmogoyf deck. I think
I played
Disa
against
is
that one in a
commander.
pod.
Hmm. That one felt really strong. Um, you were
Hmm.
able to get a lot of cards in your graveyard, and then you were able to make some pretty big Tarmogoyfs.
Oh, it got
Um,
big
mhm,
quickly when left unchecked and held its own really well.
mhm. My third favorite deck was probably the Eldrazi deck. This
Hmm.
Eldrazi deck didn't feel as strong as the one from Commander Masters. Um, it was interesting. It was 5 color.
Hmm.
So you had some like smaller Eldrazi. It was more of a go wide than go tall. But again, I didn't feel like it was quite as strong as the one from Commander Masters.
Hmm.
Um, but still a decent deck. The Simic deck. I've had some people say that they really like it popped off for them and they really loved it,
Hmm.
but I've played against that deck 4 or 5 times now. And
Hmm.
every time I've played against it, it hasn't done much.
I played against it twice. One was a modified version that did pretty well. Um, I wish I could remember the kind of what all was in the deck, but unfortunately the player ended up having to run last minute
Mm-hmm.
and had to scoop due to a time constraint. But I played against it stock and I was like, it looks kind of cool, but I really wasn't seeing what was going on. Some of the cards looked like a lot of fun, but I feel it's a good modification deck. I haven't played against the energy deck, but I've heard about people who've played it in addition to you, and that's one I kind of want to buy because I've always wanted to try and do energy. We started seeing it kind of creep back in. We had it kind of pop up
Mm-hmm.
with Fallout, but it still didn't have the right amount of support.
Yeah, so speaking of that, I actually took the energy precon from Modern Horizons and the precon from Fallout and I squished them together. Um,
Ooh.
and I have Liberty Prime as the
Mhm.
commander. Um, and that does allow you to throw in some of the Modern Horizons 3 cards that are also in white because the
Mhm.
energy deck in Modern Horizons 3 is only Izzet. But there
Mhm.
are energy cards in white. So
There are some good ones in white.
you can also throw some of those in. But basically, I built a Liberty Prime deck. I didn't add any other cards. I literally just squished the precons together. I haven't added any of those extra white cards from Modern Horizons 3 yet. I haven't added any like
Mhm.
old energy cards. And the deck pops off. It is so good.
Mhm.
I had a really good game with it at Commander Night, and then I actually won with the deck on Chase's stream. I
Mhm.
played um,
You played 4th of July.
on the
if I
4th of
remember.
July. I played Liberty Prime on 4th of July. It felt very thematic, very flavorful.
Lots
So
of fireworks.
highly recommend if you have those two precons and you're like you don't want to own two different precons that kind of do the same thing, squish them together.
So what I'm hearing is tomorrow I should just run over to my LGS because I know they still have a bunch of energy precons and just snag one.
Yes.
All right.
And I feel like I think it's one of the cheaper ones too.
It's consistently been the lowest price one.
Mhm.
Everyone went for Eldrazi. The Eldrazi one spiked. Uh, how do you feel about there being two Eldrazi precons so close together? I mean, I understand having one in Commander Masters because if you're looking at kind of big archetypes across Commander, Planeswalkers, Eldrazi, Slivers, and then Enchantress was kind of an outlier in the three, but still that deck I felt held up really well on its own. But do you think they needed to do a completely second Eldrazi deck?
No. I don't think they did. I don't think they needed to.
Hmm.
Um
I love how they
However,
had it in the set.
yeah. However, I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
I think they needed to do another Eldrazi precon? No. Am I okay with it? Yes. Just because it is so different from the other one, since it's more go wide, you have colored Eldrazi, even though they're devoid. You know, they have mana values of green and red and blue or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm okay with it, but I honestly I don't think it was needed.
Mm-hmm. Nice to have, not a need to
Yeah.
have.
And I will actually get to a point on this when we talk about Assassin's Creed. But
don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
We don't want to get ahead of ourselves. But speaking of Eldrazi, this set was very Eldrazi focused. It felt like it was used in all the marketing.
Oh yeah.
It was Eldrazi are in all of the planes, or planes, basic lands. Planes aren't the only basic lands. My brain obviously just
even
wants to play mono white right now.
The wastes were modeled after the lands that had been tainted by Kozilek.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the giant Emrakul at Amsterdam that you can get your photo wrapped up in the tentacles.
That looked so cool.
I was so jealous when I saw those shots.
I was jealous of that. I was like, oh, I want to take a picture of giant Eldrazi arms.
Uh-huh. There were so many great photos with them.
Yeah. But yeah, it was interesting that they really focused on Eldrazi for Modern Horizons 3. You know, I get it. But we didn't really get much lore behind it. Um,
Yeah, there was a lot of great
mhm,
flavor and tie-ins, and not just the callbacks to the art, but tie-ins with the cards and the mechanics.
mhm,
Because when we were at Chicago, they're like, Modern Horizons is where we will put a place for all of Magic's mechanics across all
mhm,
of time. And with Modern Horizons 3, we really saw them pull all the stops and try and leverage everything. But I think only one day, and there was maybe only 2 or 3 posts officially of just rehashing old stories
mhm.
from before that were Eldrazi centric.
Yeah,
I mean, there are tons of tales from Zendikar that we still don't have.
yeah.
That land is just ripe with adventure. That was the whole point of it. Like, we could have little stories about the people. They don't have to have cards, but just what was going on there.
Especially because we have new versions of the big 3.
Mhm. Oh yeah, the big three, and we got a lot more insight into kind of their spawn,
Mhm.
which has just a fascinating like hierarchy to itself and a breakdown
Yeah.
that we just missed out on. I would have loved a story somehow from the point of view of some Eldrazi drone and just
Mhm.
what it is hearing
Right.
in its brain, like its primal instinct with just descriptions. That would have been fascinating.
Yeah. However, I feel like we did get, I mean, even though we didn't get like lore, I felt like we got more with the flipwalkers.
We got a lot of insight into iconic moments
Mhm.
from some favorites. And that's what was great about this set is while we didn't get a lot of lore in front facing channels,
Mhm.
there was a lot hidden within the cards, especially if there was room for flavor text. But one thing that I was thinking about as we were preparing for this redo episode is looking at energy and some of the cards referencing Kaladesh, and I'd been doing a lore deep dive recently for some stuff, and we're gonna get another Kaladesh set next year.
Mhm.
So at least we have lore in the future that could hopefully call back to some of these cards.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So the flipwalkers, we've got younger versions of these planeswalkers that we
Mm-hmm.
all know and love. We finally have Grist back, which is hilarious because remember when we were talking about like which planeswalker we would want to have a new card? I said
Uh-huh.
Grist, and that was before we knew there was a Grist coming. So
Mm-hmm. I mean, I
that felt
would have
pretty
wanted a
good.
Johnny, but they spoiled that when they did the reveal.
Yeah.
And I'm still happy. I haven't gotten one yet. A friend sent one, but our mail is really horrendous. I had one card that I know was sent in the mail from someone just up the road in Baltimore last year. Had proof of it being sent. It didn't show up for like 4 months.
Oh my goodness.
So I don't know what's going on, but I'm hoping it eventually shows up. I do run it on Brawl on Arena,
Mm,
and it's fun.
yeah.
And the Soren one is wild.
The flipwalkers are all really strong.
Mm-hmm. There's so much power in them, all of them that have come out, even back to Origins. And it's a good bridge for people to go from Commander to Oathbreaker in a way,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
to kind of get them with the idea of having a Planeswalker in the command zone.
Yeah. Every person I've talked to that has a flipwalker in their deck has said that they haven't actually gotten to flip it over yet because people keep killing them on site. Um,
Oh, a Johnny has been notorious kill on sight every game I run it in. Like the moment I drop it, dead. It's good removal bait,
yeah. Yeah.
but I've also had a lot of people scoop once I flip and start doing the deal damage.
Mm, yes.
The second ability, what is it? You create it's for 0. You create a 2/1 white cat warrior, and then if you control a red permanent other than a Johnny, he deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to any target.
Ah, yes.
So I don't
Yes.
blame them on killing it on sight, but I think I have spent up to 8 mana to bring it back out,
Yeah.
considering it's just a 2-drop.
Yeah. But we also don't just see it in the Flipwalkers themselves, but they added sagas relating to each of the
Mhm.
Flipwalkers, which I thought was really interesting because sagas are almost kind of stories within themselves. Like they have chapters, you know?
Mhm.
So it's kind of neat to have that alongside of the Planeswalkers because it just adds a little extra to that lore.
So I want to definitely get into sagas too again when we cover Assassin's Creed.
Yes.
Uh, but the sagas for Modern Horizons have been great. The Ajani Fells the Godsire, I used that in the MH3 draft and it was great. There's the Ral one, Ral in the Implicit Maze. What was the mono black one? It was
Mm.
Avacyn.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, they were just fun, and I love the Tamio one just for the art alone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Tamio the Flipwalker, that is a wild card.
It's pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Do you have a
so
do you have a personal favorite from all of them,
um
or one that you're really hoping to build?
I'm not hoping to build any of them, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I do like Tamio just because Tamio's always been one of my favorite planeswalkers. Obviously, we're not going to be getting any more future Tamios because she was unalived in the Phyrexia battle by the Wanderer. Spoiler alert. If you haven't read that story already, then I don't consider it spoiler alert. You just are very slow on reading the stories if you don't know that. And So it's kind of nice to get a Tamio card. Just,
Mm-hmm.
it's like, okay, she's gone, but she's not forgotten. We still love
Ne-
her.
she'll never be forgotten because we also have Nashi still around,
Yes, we do
and
still have Nashi.
now we have Genku,
Yes.
Future
Yes.
Shaper,
Yes.
the stay-at-home dad for Tamio.
The whole family.
It's kind of a nice little tribute
Mm-hmm.
to kind of have that going forward. And I hope we get more Nashi cards because everyone's
Mm-hmm.
been great. But I mean, what a heartbreaking moment. Every time I see a card relating to Tamio, I still go back to that.
So going back to predictions and how I predicted Grist,
Mm-hmm.
one of the things that we predicted in our snow episode was the return of Snowlands in Modern Horizons 3. And we
Mm-hmm.
were kind of right.
Yeah.
They added a snow-covered waste.
Which is gorgeous with all the art. And now people can have a true full set of Snowlands. But we didn't get other new ones, which was unfortunate. I'm glad they rounded it off.
Yes.
There wasn't I don't think there's anything that really calls for specifically snow-covered wastes yet.
Nope.
Yet, maybe.
Yet. Although
We didn't
honestly, I think they know most people don't use those for
Mm-hmm.
snow purposes. People use those for aesthetic
Mm-hmm.
preferences.
Yeah, and we've talked a lot about favorite basics and how
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people will start with, these are the lands that I want to put with this commander.
Mm-hmm.
I think Daniel Holtz always it's got to be the
Yeah,
Kamigawa
Kamigawas.
full
Yep.
arts.
Yeah, and a lot of people love the snowlands, and
Mm-hmm.
those are their favorite lands, and they'll want to use them in as many decks as they can. And so,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it was kind of disappointing that we didn't get more, but
Hopefully we get some more because I'd love to see new snow art.
mm-hmm.
Don't need to have anything for mechanics specifically. It's been kind of nice. One that would have been a great opportunity is since they were doing the Four Seasons lands in Bloomborough, is just
Oh.
for winter make it a snow covered. It would throw off the math between like you wouldn't really have 4 basic arts, you'd have 3 and then a snow. But it could have been kind of neat.
Oh, you're so right. You're so right. Okay. Well, coming back to Modern Horizons, um, next thing we'll talk about, we got new free spells.
Speaking of things coming back,
Mm-hmm. New free spells. They're all flares. They're called flares. So we got Flare of Denial, Flare of Cultivation, Flare of
Flare of Duplication,
Duplication.
and then Flare of Malice and Flare of Fortitude.
Mm-hmm.
These are a lot of fun. I didn't pull any, but I did have someone use a Flare of Duplication on me and kill me. Whoops.
I've used the white one quite a few times. I used it in draft too.
That's fun. So, for those unaware, Flare of Fortitude, it's 2 and 2 white unless you sacrifice a non-token white creature to cast for free. And until end of turn, your life total can't change. Permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible.
It's pretty
that's
nice. Fun. It's almost like it's almost like a free Teferi's protection. Like you're not phased out, but like your creatures all get indestructible and hexproof, and your life total can't change. So like it's as close to getting to like a Teferi's protection without Teferi's protection at home, exactly.
Oh, I like that. The green and the blue one are fun. They're pretty much what you expect. Ramp and countering. I love Flare of Duplication to copy target instant and sorcery. And then mono black Flare of Malice. Each opponent sacrifices a creature or planeswalker with the greatest mana value among creatures and planeswalkers they control. Fun little kill spell.
Yeah.
The art on it is phenomenal.
I feel like they're very on flavor with their colors.
The colors work. The art just shines on these. And just really embodies what is going on.
The borderless ones are just gorgeous.
Oh, I forgot about the borderless ones. Those,
they almost like come out of the card, like the way they are designed. They kind of overlap some of the borders and the text, so that way, like it looks like they're almost coming to life, which I love.
They really did a great job on the art this set. I feel with especially the borderless cards.
Yeah.
And speaking for like the medallions.
Speaking of art, they brought back the profile arts that we saw in Commander Masters.
Which were so fun to see. Those became so popular. And I want to say during previews, a lot of people were kind of like, I don't know. And then now everyone is all over them.
They're so cool. I love them. My favorite personally has to be Felia. You know, the dog one.
Oh, that's a good one.
But like, the Brea one is really cool. 6 is really cool.
The 6 one's cool. The one for the energy commander, I just went blank on his name.
It's like Satya.
Satya Aetherflux Genius. I really enjoyed the one for that. And even the Jyoti, the Moog Ancient.
I feel like they did a really good job of picking cards that people play a lot, like in Commander or other formats, to use for the profile arts. So there's one character in particular who has a profile art that has become very popular in all formats.
I was gonna say it's less profile art and more wanted poster or mugshot.
Yeah. It's like the side. They call it side profile.
I call it a target.
So there's one in particular who has kind of made waves throughout the Magic scene. Um, a lot of people are expecting a BAN here soon,
Mm-hmm.
especially in certain formats, and that is Nadu.
That bird.
Have you played against Nadu yet?
I have never cracked a bounty agent so fast in my life than when that card hits the board. Every single time.
You know, I haven't actually played against a Nadu yet. I've heard a lot of people talking about like building Nadu or putting Nadu in one of their decks. Um, yeah, I haven't
It
played
was.
against it. However, I did spend my weekend of Amsterdam watching the Pro Tour,
Mm-hmm.
and Nadu dominated the Pro Tour. Was
Almost
literally
every
everywhere.
deck.
Was literally everywhere. Um, and honestly, I think we do expect a ban for Nadu in Modern.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I think the reason they didn't do it yet was because of the Pro Tour. They didn't want to
Mm-hmm.
ban a card right before the Pro Tour when people had been building these decks, practicing with
All the
these decks.
testing.
Exactly. And so I think now that the Pro Tour has happened, I think we can expect a ban.
There's talk that if there is one, people want it to be sooner rather than later, especially with nationals later this fall
Mm-hmm.
and some of the other big tournaments. I've played against this primarily on Arena
Mm-hmm.
in Brawl,
Yeah.
and what when a card just goes off in Arena,
Mm-hmm.
it is just non-stop.
Yeah.
I learned my lesson the first one, and then it became for me.
Yeah.
Duck Hunt.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's interesting that they designed a card that strong.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I don't know. Maybe they considered how strong it was. Maybe they didn't. I don't know what goes into the planning behind these things, but
I'd love to see sort of the playtest process on this card. I think it'd be a fascinating story that
yeah.
got to it because there's so much speculation by people, but I'd love to hear the real story.
Yeah.
Without malice. Like I'm genuinely curious. Because for me when I see cards like this and everyone's like, "Oh, this is broken. Oh, this is going to destroy the format or whatever." I'm like, I I don't have enough of a frame of reference with
Mm-hmm.
how much Magic I am still trying to catch up on
Yeah.
to really catch things. But
It's usually because there is a very easily identifiable infinite combo with the
mm-hmm,
card, which with Nadu obviously happens. With
mm-hmm,
Shuko, I think is
Shoko.
the equipment, and so people are saying, oh, well, maybe they'll ban Shuko, and it's like, no, I think they're gonna ban Nadu if they ban
Yeah,
anything.
I don't think it'll be errata.
No. Um. Okay. So speaking of cards that people hate, um, there's there's a new farewell
There
in
is
black.
Final Act, which I love. I love the art. I mean, but also you and I talked at length about Farewell, and we're fine with it. There's a way for it to be played.
Yeah. It's just interesting to me how people very obviously don't like farewell, and they're
Mm-hmm.
like, all right, let's make the same card in black.
Yeah. I mean, there's just a few little changes to it. So, of course, choose one or more, destroy all creatures, destroy all planeswalkers, destroy all battles, exile all graveyards, or my favorite, each opponent loses all counters.
Yeah. So the tricky thing here is you might be like, oh, well, it's not as bad because it destroys. However, if you're choosing all modes, you go in order of how those modes are listed. So you destroy
Mhm.
everything and then exile everything.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, you don't get to pick the order. It there comes a point where maybe you might be like, yeah, I need to do this, and that's okay. I don't think I've played in a game except okay, I played in one game where someone used a farewell and did everything and it was not needed and it ended up just resetting the whole thing.
I
But
played a game like that in Tacoma where someone cast a
oh,
farewell and I was playing artifacts and
oh, I remember this story.
they casted it on all modes and almost all of my lands were also artifact lands.
Mhm.
So I after the farewell resolved, I had one land and two cards in hand, neither of which were lands. And at that point, if I was in a game with people I didn't know, I would probably scoop. I would probably say, you know what? There's absolutely no way I'm catching back up.
Yep. Have fun.
I'm basically top decking at this point, and
Yeah.
so but I was playing with friends, with people I know. So of course I
Mhm.
sat it out. I was interested, curious to see like how the game would end. But yeah, I think if I was playing in a game with like random people, I probably would have walked away.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have blamed you.
Yeah.
Especially at a con because time is so finite at those. You're trying to get as much done as possible.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes you got to know when to fold them.
Know when to hold on. So enough about like cards we don't like. Whatever.
Well, it's not that we don't like them. Okay,
Yeah.
we don't like Nadu, but everything else we're
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
What are some of your favorites?
So love Philia. Love that they added in a shepherd.
Mhm.
It's interesting. It says shepherd, but it's a corgi. But corgis technically are herding dogs, so it makes
Yeah.
sense. But at the same time, I was kind of secretly hoping for like an Australian shepherd because
Uh-huh. I wonder why.
but I still love Philia. So cute. Um, one of like my standout cards that I loved drafting was Reefworm. Um,
It's such a classic.
it's such a silly card. It starts off like as a little thing, and then like
Mhm.
if you kill it, it comes back a little bit bigger. If you kill it, it
Yep.
comes back a little bit bigger. If you kill it, it comes back a little bit bigger. And then finally you have like a 9/9.
That was in the first precon I ever bought, the Strixhaven Quandrix one.
Mhm.
And I just remember reading that in hilarity every time. I was glad to see that
Yeah.
reprinted.
Still one of my favorite cards. It's so cute. Um, a standout card. Every time this got played against me in draft, like I knew I was done for because it just
Mhm.
created so much mana. Fanatic of Ronus.
Oh yeah, I really need one of those in my
Mm-hmm. If
my
you're
Grek deck.
if you're playing green, like you need this card because if your commander has power 4, if you just have like a couple creatures in your deck that power 4,
Mhm.
like this card generates so much value. It is insane. Like
Oh yeah. Hey, if you're in green, you're automatically gonna have stuff bigger than 4.
yeah, oh yeah. Yeah, so that card just absolutely destroyed me in draft. Um and then of course I never saw it myself, otherwise I would have drafted it. And
Mhm.
then my other favorite is actually deals with energy. It's Guide of Souls.
Mhm.
It's 1 white for a 1/2 human cleric. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, you gain 1 life and you get an energy. And then whenever you attack, you may pay 3 energy. When you do, put 2+1/+1 counters and a flying counter on target attacking creature. It becomes an angel in addition to its other types. I think
Oof.
this card is good, even if you're not playing like energy as a theme of your deck. I think this is just a generally good card in white, um, because life gain is
Mhm.
is a big thing in white, and then you can make your creatures flying, which again we've talked about how strong flying is. Like
flying wins games.
Mm-hmm. And you put 2+1+1 counters on it before it flies. So it's like it feels like a good value for 1 white mana.
Oh, most definitely.
So what are some of your favorite cards?
Oh, the first card I bought from MH3, I didn't buy a pack. I bought a single, and it was
Okay.
Ocelot Pride.
Yes.
I've bought 2 because I found one at Command Fest Atlanta, and it was just the standard art. And the next day, I found the kind of the vintage style
The
frame,
retro
the
frame. Yeah,
retro.
yeah.
So of course I had to get that because I love the original art for it by Chris Seaman.
Mm-hmm.
But first game I played it in, I threw it immediately into Brimaz. I got it with a hideaway land.
Oh, nice.
So right off the bat, in that deck, with how many tokens it can make,
Sure.
any turn I'm attacking with 3, I ended up flipping into it and creating 13 1/1 white cat tokens.
Oh my goodness.
Which was so much fun. I ended up going on online, and if you're just listening, you're not going to see this, but I bought a
Oh my
ton of the
goodness.
little ocelot cat tokens that match it for the art, because it kind of looks like one of our old cats that we used to have. So I'm like, this is
That's
too
so
perfect.
perfect.
But I love that card.
It's really good.
The next one that really, the moment I cracked it in a pack, I was just floored by the art, was Ondu Knotmaster.
Mm-hmm.
The art's by Jarrell Threat, and I love Zendikar as a plane. It's so much fun with just the chaos and the adventure and the sort of survival element, all the lore to it. And it's fitting that we finally have a Zendikar adventure spell.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this is the first true gold card Orzhov, like, 2-color adventure, because with Wilds of Eldraine we saw off-color
Mm-hmm.
pairings where the adventure spell was one color, the over card was another, but this one both are true. So for the sorcery is white and a black, distribute 2 1/1 counters among 1 or 2 target creatures. Then the creature is a core rogue, 2/2 for 2, a white and a black with lifelink, and whenever another modified creature you control dies, put 2 1/1 counters on Ondu Knotmaster.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, the art's gorgeous on it, with a core lashing out in amongst all the floating terrain. The other one that really kind of I loved, going back to some of the kind of conceptual reprints, were all the flip lands, the monocolored ones.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
A lot of people were kind of snagging those to put in all their commander decks, because you'd maybe get an instant or a sorcery on one side, or you can play it as a land, and it was kind of a monocolor, I guess a monocolor bolt land, because it does, you pay 3 life
Mm-hmm.
or it enters tapped. But those were a lot of fun for just kind of a one-off. And then Aether Revolt in red I really liked, just for the
Mm-hmm.
story element and the energy piece, but it just fit. We got a card, Aether Revolt, after finally named that.
Mm-hmm.
But red enchantment, 2 and 2 red. Revolt, as long as a permanent you controlled left the battlefield this turn, if a source you control would deal non-combat damage to an opponent, or permanent an opponent controls, it deals that much +2, which is pretty standard red. But whenever you get 1 or more energy, Aether Revolt deals that much damage to any target.
I had one literally sitting right here.
Oh, that is on my pickup list at some point. 2 kind of honorable mentions I want to give for like favorite cards, because they were from the commander decks.
Mm-hmm.
Aurora Shifter
Okay. Yeah.
from the, I think it was the energy deck,
Mm-hmm.
for a shapeshifter that deals combat damage to a player, you get that much energy, which I thought was just wild.
Mm-hmm.
And then Silver Quill Lecturer.
Okay.
I just loved the fact that we got another Strixhaven card, but creature spells you cast have Demonstrate. And I love Demonstrate as just an ability. I think it's
Mm-hmm.
fun. So it's kind of just a real flavorful card, and the text on it. Did you bring enough to share with the rest of the class? Just seals it.
Oh, that's like such the teacher thing to say too. Like,
Yeah, I'm calling myself out there.
yeah, yeah.
There were like a lot of flavored gems though in this set,
Mm-hmm.
even though we didn't get kind of a bigger overall story or kind of subset of stories.
Yeah. So speaking of that, there were a lot of references to like other existing cards in this set.
Mm-hmm.
Some kind of like play-ons of other cards. I'd like to say so like Null Drifter just makes me laugh so much because it's literally like the same text as Mull Drifter except it's like this giant Eldrazi.
It's so perfect. The one I loved was White of the Reliquary
Yes.
instead of Knight of the Reliquary. These were an absolute blast, and I felt they were perfect for the set,
Mm-hmm.
given the mechanical design of it.
Yeah.
Like they clearly nailed it. I mean, in a way, I guess the lore to it was very meta in the sense of being lore of the game itself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. We had some notable reprints in Modern Horizons 3 as
Mhm.
well. Um,
Oh yeah, more medallions,
More
all the medallions.
medallions, which, if you are a collector, I'm so sorry, but like we needed reprints, to be honest.
Oh,
Um,
we needed those so badly. I was using one mismatch set I bought like a year ago and just swapping them out between decks.
those medallions are like under $5 now, so like
Hmm.
super affordable. Um,
And even the showcase arts are
mhm.
$5, $6 at most, and they're
They are
beautiful.
beautiful, yeah.
The Pearl Medallion by
Mhm.
Lena Richards
Mhm.
is stunning.
So good. It is so good. Um, we also got Shocklands
Hmm.
back, and so
Always good.
those are more reasonably priced now. Um, I don't know. I'm not like a collector,
Hmm.
so I'm okay with reprints. I honestly like at this point, I think like if you're trying to like actually have value for your cards, you have to be owning like Power 9 or Reserve List cards at this point
Hmm.
because like things are gonna get reprinted.
It makes me think. I was a big comic book person for a while. The '90s kind of boom that
Mm-hmm.
almost destroyed the industry when speculators started going out buying all the issue ones, thinking they were
Mm-hmm.
going to get this one off that in 5 years it was going to be worth thousands of dollars. Like, no, that's not how the
No.
industry works. And printing had changed so much by then that they were printing them into the ground with like 50 different variant covers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, before we move on from Modern Horizons, are there any decks you're brewing from this or planning to brew? You know, you talked a little bit about how you built a brawl deck.
Hmm. I love the brawl deck I built. It's on my Mox build with a Johnny, and
Mm-hmm.
it's just a fun deck. I don't think I'm gonna build a Johnny as the lead in paper. I'm
Mm-hmm.
working on a Jenny Faye Crazy Cat Lady deck that he'll be in. I
Yay!
even snagged an extra of the Secret Lair Jenny Faye to use for the
Yay!
tournament. That's where my backup Ocelot go. So I'm looking forward to building that. But one that I pulled like three um, from the few packs I got between the draft and like a prize pack of Kaith Fame Mechanist,
Oh
the
yeah,
Dwarf Artificer. And I loved it because I just fabricate coming back.
I think it's
I don't
so
know.
unique too. It's so interesting. I think that would be kind of a fun thing to build around.
Yeah, I'm kind of looking forward to trying something with that. I'd been working on sort of a split is it deck with partner commanders that was just going to be sort of a fun little thing with
Hmm.
mostly artifacts and counters. And the idea behind that deck would be you could split it in two between a red and a blue side and
Yeah.
then make it work for kind of like a quick duel game. But I think Kaith would be a good lead for it. It just seemed like a neat, straightforward card that would have range. I could make
Hmm.
something creative out of it. One that I'd like to build, not so much build around, but include is one of the enchantments. The enchantments, Desert Warfare,
Mm.
because I've always wanted to build a Hazazon deck, and we've been getting more and more
Yep.
desert support. And this one was just fun. Whenever you sacrifice a desert, or whenever one's put into your graveyard from your hand or library, put it onto the battlefield under your control at the beginning of your next end step, and at the beginning of combat, if you control 5 or more deserts, create that many 1/1 Sand Warrior creature tokens with haste.
Hmm.
It's got great art, and it fits.
Yeah.
How about you?
Um, honestly, I wasn't a super fan of this set.
Mhm.
So I wasn't like yearning to build anything. A lot of people are wanting to build Bloodforged Battle Axe around that new Esper commander, but
Mhm.
honestly, I kind of already love my Bloodforged Battle Axe deck, and I don't really want to build another one.
Yours is
Um,
really good.
and yeah, and so I kind of don't want to build another one. I
Mhm.
think my one deck from this set is going to basically be me taking the energy decks and putting them together. My husband built an Eldrazi deck
Mhm.
finally with stuff from the set. So again, squish the two precons together. Also
Mhm.
added in because I pulled like an insane amount of Eldrazi in just like the packs I opened.
Mhm.
Um, so I had all of the new big three Eldrazi, so those are in there. Um, all of the old Eldrazi are in there.
Mhm.
So that was kind of he built that. So um, I yeah I don't think I'm planning on building anything else from this deck. I think the energy is good for me.
Yeah, I ended up, I think, with a total of 6 packs from this set, 3 from a draft, and then 2 regular and 1 collector.
Hmm.
It wasn't something I was going to go all in for just because of the price point of it, and it was more of a single set for me.
Hmm. Yeah, again, like you talked about this. I base if I get sets on uncommons and commons,
Mhm.
and they just didn't super wow me
Mhm.
for this set. So it wasn't a set that I was going to invest heavily in. I just wanted
Yeah,
the precons to be honest.
the precons seem kind of fun. I am going to pick up the energy one. I was thinking, yeah, it's more of a single set for me.
Hmm.
Like talking about the Eldrazi and how we had kind of 5-color Eldrazi. I'd love to make a like a Zendikar battle for Zendikar kind of theme deck and put a big Eldrazi at the head, and then have all the main characters from all of the battles and all the stories and other Eldrazi in there. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't know. I like the idea, but I don't think I want to really put the effort into it based off of the
Yeah,
maybe 2 options I have to lead it.
yeah, yeah. Any final thoughts from Modern Horizons?
Curious to see what Modern Horizons 4 looks like, if that's be a thing.
I feel like it's gonna be one of those things like in movies where they just keep going until it doesn't make them money anymore.
Yep. And then they'll just write it off and delete the set.
True. All right, let's move on to Assassin's Creed.
I love this set.
I was more excited for this set than for Modern Horizons.
Oh, 110%.
Which is
Uh,
the opposite of a lot of people. A lot of people are like, this set isn't for me. Well, that's okay because me and Matt are the target
mhm.
audience.
Yeah. I had never played an Assassin's Creed game until this was announced, and I downloaded everyone available for the Switch. I have friends who love the entire series and played it from the beginning and would tell me about the lore. And I'm like, gosh, I need to play this. I just don't have
Hmm.
time. I have sunk easily 30 plus hours in like the limited time I have on Assassin's Creed 2 alone. And I am just loving it. I'm a history nerd. I love art. I love mysteries, like conspiracy films. It's got everything. It's got a great story. And honestly, I think one of the things a lot of people were kind of concerned about is okay, their aftermath, the smaller packs. I think it's perfect for it
Okay.
because here's my hot story take.
Okay, okay.
There weren't a whole lot of assassins really out there. They had to reform, so it fits better as a small little pack because it's more of a boost, a one-off. Ezio against the world.
Okay. Do you want to hear my thoughts?
Yes, because I have been dying since you kind of sent me a little hint and I dug into it and I'm like, oh, that works too.
Okay, so EK mentioned this on Chase's stream the other day, and I agree. I thought this
Hmm.
the same thing. I think that it wasn't actually supposed to be aftermath boosters.
Hmm.
I think the set was supposed to be like Doctor Who, where you had
Hmm.
4 commander decks and
Hmm.
collector boosters. I think
Yep.
that was it. I think that's what the set was supposed to be. For some reason, I don't know why, they decided to scrap that. Maybe they thought there were too many commander decks coming out. I don't
Hmm.
know what the situation is. But if you look at if you like search, Assassin's Creed Magic and you go to the Wizards
Hmm.
page where you can like pre-order and it says see the cards. So they have special designs for 5 cards.
Hmm.
One of them is Ezio, which is all 5 colors. But then underneath Ezio are 4 cards that look like they could have been the face
Uh-huh.
commanders for the commander decks.
If you go to Scryfall's page and scroll all the way down, you textured foils and it is just those 5 cards.
Yes. Yeah. So there would have, in theory, if this had actually been what it was supposed to be, there would have been a Mardu deck, a
Hmm.
Grixis deck, a Naya deck, and a Boros deck.
Hmm. And then you have Ezio to tie them all together.
Yeah, and then you have Ezio, which is kind of just his own standoff thing, just
Hmm.
because icon, I guess. Um, but yeah,
They
I would
go
have.
ahead.
My take is I would have rather had 4 commander decks from Assassin's Creed than
Mhm.
4 commander decks from Modern Horizons.
I fully agree on that take. Uh, I was talking at my LGS at Dice City the other day. I went and picked up a bundle, a couple packs and a starter, and they were thinking the same thing. Chris there and I were talking. He's like, you could have kind of upped this to 180 unique cards plus the reprints.
Mm-hmm.
He thought still do like play boosters, but make it draftable because the cards in this he felt would have been a lot of fun in a draft environment, especially
Ooh.
with the reprints. And I was like, there's a lot of little interaction. There are a lot of characters, which my first thought was, okay, Lord of the Rings, a lot of characters. It was a kind of so-so in my opinion when I tried drafting it. Like,
Yeah, I'm one of the weird ones. I love drafting Lord of the Rings. I thought Lord
mhm.
of the Rings was a really fun draft environment.
I think it's a great set as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
so slightly disappointed that
mhm,
we went with Beyond boosters instead of Commander decks. If that is the case, which I do think it was the case,
mhm,
I really do think it was the case. I think they were originally going to be like it was originally going to be like Doctor
mhm.
Who.
Which seems to be sort of the sweet spot they have finally hit with UB sets, Universes Beyond. Of You get the full set if you buy all 4 decks.
Yeah.
If you want to bling it out, do the collector booster just like with Fallout. I think that was where I want to say, had to be a lesson out of the Warhammer set.
Yeah. So I'm not entirely sure why they did it this way, but
Yeah, I'm still happy with the set regardless.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah, absolutely. Still happy with it. Just was curious. So speaking along those lines, there is a starter kit for Assassin's Creed, which apparently has different unique cards in it. Yes.
Yes, it does. It has some great legendaries in it that are just straight up ready for Commander. One deck is led by Aver, Battle Ready, which was one of the reveals in Boros. And then for the other, you have Demir Ezio. And there are some fun little cards in here. Like you get, you get Surtur, the Fiery Jotun, in the Boros deck, which is mono red, 3 and 2 red, legendary creature, giant god warrior, 5/5 with trample. Whenever you cast a historic spell, it deals 3 damage to any target. That's kind of fun.
Yeah.
Or the kind of backup in the Demir deck, Achilles Davenport. It has free running for a blue and a black, and free running is a special mechanic. You may cast this spell for its free running cost if you dealt combat damage to a player this turn with an assassin or commander. It has menace, and other assassins you control get +1/+1. Which in an assassin themed set,
Yeah,
kind of fun. I know there was heartburn though on that line in the free running rules, assassin or commander.
So, okay. This is also the reason why I think they were originally supposed to be commander decks.
Mm-hmm.
It's because of this free running line.
Yep.
Because it is very commander centric if you're not playing assassins. And there are cards that are good for decks that, you know, like there's the green ramp one, where free running, it costs less than the normal cost, which would make sense in any sort of green commander deck. So again, I think they were supposed to be commander decks, and I think that's why that mechanic reads the way it does.
Yeah, and I know the big piece of heartburn is that these cards were going to be legal in
Modern,
not just Commander, but Modern. So, I mean, I can understand. I mean, it's good to have that clarification, though, in there, because we all like reminder text. We always talk about, oh, I love the alt art in the showcase, but I kind of want the reminder text on there still.
So it's really interesting because I've heard a lot from like Modern players. They don't love that there's back-to-back sets that can be included in Modern. You know, that it's become like a block thing that, like, you know, you're constantly having to change. So I think it would have been interesting if they didn't make Assassin's Creed Modern legal.
I think that would have been the better way to go.
Yeah.
Is just kind of make it Commander, Oathbreaker.
Draft, like you said, like it could have been a really cool draft.
So Dice City was doing a neat draft this weekend with it. And one day it was draft, and it was a mix of Assassin's Creed on top of Thunder Junction, which just fits. And then they did another one mixing it with Modern Horizons.
Yeah.
Which I think could have been interesting. I think Thunder Junction would be the fun one. And
I committing some crimes with assassins feels very on theme.
Oh yeah. I mean, as long as it's, you know, hitting the right target.
Oh yeah, and
not a civilian.
Of course.
Because I may have killed a civilian or two accidentally.
Oh no.
It gives a little pop up.
That would be fun. That would be fun to mix in OTJ with Assassin's Creed.
It's a good follow-up set to that, I feel. I'm really curious to see how Universes Beyond are treated next year with Final Fantasy, with Marvel, and moving forward with lessons learned between all the different sets, because we're
Hmm.
clearly seeing where they're learning. And once we hit those sets, we've talked about it before, I think that's where we're going to see the culmination of the Doctor Who Fallout model and the Lord of the Rings model.
Yeah, and I'm not to get off topic a little bit, but I wanted to add on to this. So it will be interesting because uh, Gavin recently posted something. You know, he was getting a lot of questions in Amsterdam
Mhm.
about like what he was working on, and he started talking about Final Fantasy and how he is pulling things from all 16
Uh,
games.
he mentioned that he started out on the old SNES ones, and I'm like, that's where I first really discovered it, and that made me happy.
Which includes Final Fantasy XIV, which is an MMO that has had multiple expansions.
Uh-huh. It's gonna be wild.
So I have to imagine that that set has to be similar to like Lord of the Rings
Hmm.
size because I don't know how you fit that much stuff into something like Assassin's Creed or Doctor Who where you just have four commander decks.
I would kill to see if they had a whiteboard where they just listed characters and just start crossing them off, like who's not making the cut to see after the fact.
I also feel like Final Fantasy does have a larger audience
Hmm.
than Assassin's Creed or Doctor Who. So
Hmm.
I think that making it similar to Lord of the Rings where there is a large fan base,
Hmm.
like people still play Final Fantasy, like the regular games and FF14. I literally got married in Final Fantasy 14 to Jason like a couple weeks before our wedding because we thought it was cute. So
Oh, I love that.
it's like
I
there's gonna be a lot of people that are gonna be interested in that set. So
Mhm.
yes,
And
I
I
think you
find
have
it.
a good point where it's gonna be interesting where they go.
Mhm. Yeah, I'm gonna be keeping an eye on it. One thing I find funny too is that there's already been a Final Fantasy trading card game.
Oh yeah, there was
So
already a Lord of the Rings one too, wasn't
uh-huh.
there? Yeah.
Yeah, there was Lord of the Rings one back when the movies came out, because when we were at Vegas, I have a great photo of Drew from Show and Tell,
Mm-hmm.
and he brought the Frodo card from that. That is
Nice.
Elijah Wood. So I have a photo of him
Nice.
holding that at the concert with Elijah Wood DJing behind him
That's
in the background.
funny. That's so funny.
It's gonna be neat. Next year's gonna be very different in Magic, I think.
Yeah.
You know, one thing before we move on
Okay.
just sort of, well, I guess we are gonna kind of go into reprints in a second,
Yes,
but
we
just
are.
kind of like a quick outlier, just because I have them here, is the return of mini games in the packs.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Uh, and I didn't know it until Benny posted about it, and I was like, "Oh, that's great!" And then I cracked three of them, and they are extremely flavorful for Assassin's Creed.
Interesting. Okay. I do like that a lot. No, that's on topic. That's Assassin's Creed related. There's mini games back. I didn't know that, so that's pretty cool.
Mhm.
So notable reprints. There's some good reprints in this set. Uh,
Uh-huh.
so we got Reconnaissance, Cover of Darkness. This one for me, I needed this for my Assassin's deck, and I
Mhm.
hadn't gotten it because it was too expensive. And now I'm like, it got reprinted. Thank you.
Uh-huh. It's affordable-ish.
Affordable-ish. Yeah. So, we also got Black Market Connections,
Mhm.
which has gotten reprinted a couple times now, but we also got Sword of Feast and Famine. Hello.
Uh-huh. And sort of Light and Shadow, and I pulled both showcases by Bruce Bernays. Oh, they are beautiful. The one I'm excited for that I want to, or there are two I'm excited for. One I want to pick up for my mono black deck
Okay.
is Conspiracy,
Yes. Yes.
just so that everything is a wraith. And then I loved seeing Royal Assassin reprinted.
Yes.
because
Yes.
it's perfect for the set. And for me, when I first started Magic, that was one of the cards in Unlimited, and it's like I always remember that card. Just the art was iconic, and a friend of mine who played Mono Black used to thrash all of us
Oh
using
my
that and several other
goodness.
things. And it was fun to see that come back. It's been reprinted over the years, but
Yeah.
they did a they did a good job with the reprints.
Mm-hmm. They're on theme. They fit the set.
They pulled deep. They put great art. The art all the art for the set had amazing callbacks to the games.
So, speaking about the set, and one of the overwhelming themes of the set is cards that care about historic
Mm,
spells.
hmm.
They're everywhere. There's so many cards that care about historic spells. There are a lot of historic spells. You mentioned earlier sagas.
Oh yeah. I am really looking forward to the one I kind of want to build is Sigurd, Jarl of Ravensthorpe.
Okay.
So it's costs Naya for a 3/3 legendary creature human warrior, vigilance, trample, and lifelink, has boast, pay one colorless, and put a lore counter on target saga you control or remove one from it. And whenever you put a lore counter on a saga you control, put a 1/1 counter on up to one other target creature.
I think that's really fun. That's a really fun way to build sagas.
And I love the art on it is it's Sigurd standing on a table with a horn clearly filled with ale and everyone cheering him on. And you know he's just telling a great story.
Yeah.
And I loved how you could remove a counter from it. It's like
Yes.
having a kid that's like, do it again. Tell me it again. I want to read that page again.
Yeah.
I it really hit the vibe of kind of the oral storytelling tradition for
Hmm.
and how whenever you add a lore counter, how a creature gets a +1/+1 made me think of all those stories you hear that just hit you right in the heart
Hmm.
for good or for bad, but just make you really feel something.
Yeah.
I just I loved it, and I cracked one thankfully, and I'm like I need to build it.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it's interesting because they actually talked. I was watching a little bit of the Command Zones, like set review basically for Assassin's Creed.
Mhm.
They were talking more about like deck building and building decks around Assassin's Creed commanders, and they talked about how there's like actually it's kind of funny how many synergies there are between cards in the universes of Beyond sets and how they're building an Assassin's Creed commander, but they have cards from Fallout, from Doctor Who, from Lord of the Rings. Um,
There are so many just connections between them all with different types of unique counters and
mhm,
abilities, and of course the historic element. It's it's wild.
yeah,
Like the creativity you can really bring to Magic of not just what you like in your playstyle, but now things you love.
mhm,
Like I think that's kind of special.
yeah. So, what are some of your favorite cards from the set?
Oh, like one of the first that I loved was Become Anonymous.
Yes.
It it's got like a little 3-card Monty mini game in it, and considering how many times I screw up in the game and have to become anonymous very quickly, it was just fun. 2 and 2 blue for an instant, exile target non-creature you own and the top 2 cards of your library in a face-down pile. Shuffle that pile and then cloak those cards. They enter tapped, and a cloak card is face down 2/2 creature with ward 2. I like I love having face down cards come back in this
Yeah.
because even though I don't think there were, I think that might be the only one in Assassin's Creed that has face down, but
There's a couple that deal with face down.
having something that will tie back to murders from earlier
Mhm.
this year
Mhm.
is kind of nice. Um, Palazzo Archers,
Mm-hmm.
2 and a green, human archer, 2/3 with reach. Whenever a creature with flying attacks you or a planeswalker you control, Palazzo Archers deals damage equal to its power to that creature. Like,
Yeah.
that's a fun one. And then I get a third one that's going to be great in Commander, Brotherhood Regalia.
Mm-hmm.
Equipped creature has Ward 2 and is an assassin and can't be blocked.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, that doesn't even get into like legendary creatures I'd love to build, but I mean, right off the bat, those 3
Yeah.
jumped out as I need these.
Yeah. For me, it was really hard to pick one because I need like almost every card from this set.
Uh-huh.
Um,
Yeah, your
but
note said any assassin card.
yeah, which is almost the entire set.
Uh-huh.
My other single card that I really like, we talked a little bit about this card before. Leonardo. We talked
Uh-huh.
about the fact that they unfortunately did the art with him being right-handed when he is
Uh-huh.
left-handed. Um, Regardless of that fact, I'm an art history nerd. That's what my undergrad degree is in. So of course, I have to love that card. I'm also working on building a Brea deck because I'm working on a Brea cosplay, and so this card just slots perfectly into that deck because it deals with
Mhm.
Thopters, and Brea makes Thopters. So
I
just kind of
I
perfect.
love the Da Vinci card. It's such a great character in the games, but the card's perfect.
Yeah, yeah.
I I now need to find a way to, well, I mean, maybe I do it with Kaith and I make Jeskai Thopters so I can merge my Thoppet like it's hot in Boros and Leonardo da
There
Vinci.
you go.
uh, the historics were fun. I really wanted to build Cleopatra.
Yes, yes. That one
I,
certainly looks interesting.
hmm I've been looking to build something in Golgari, and I'm like, you know what? Why not?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that's
What
that's
else
one
jumped
deck.
out at you?
Yeah. What?
What else jumped out at you besides all the assassin cards?
Honestly,
You know we can never pick just one.
no, I want the whole set. I'm not gonna lie. Um, I so originally, and I still think I will because getting access to the amount of cards that I would need to do this would be ridiculous. But I have a Ramses deck right now.
Hmm.
So originally I was like, you know what, I'm all the Dimir assassins, anything in blue or black. I want to throw into there.
Hmm.
However, I do really like 5-color Ezio.
I do too. I did not pull one, and I don't know anyone who has yet.
And I it's kind of bad because like if I do that, then I need a lot of cards from this set. Like a lot of cards from this set. So for now, I'm like trying really hard to just stick to Ramses to just like try to like get as many of the Demir ones as I possibly
Hmm.
can. But like I would love to build a 5-color assassins deck.
I think it would be so much fun. I'd love to see you build a 5-color assassin stack.
So because Ezio is pretty similar to Ramses in terms of
Hmm.
like what it does as far as like a player loses the game when you deal
Hmm.
combat damage, which I mean is what Ramses does. Ramses so I have the new Ramses
Hmm.
which that portion of the text that I'm talking about on Ramses reads whenever a player loses the game, if they were attacked this turn by an assassin you control, you win the game. So it's very similar, just subtle differences.
Hmm.
So it's like they're so similar. I could just add more assassins in different colors.
You could go based on whatever mood you're in and
But
just have a set of assassins that you just swap in and out.
but I'd basically have to buy the entire set of Assassin's Creed, which sounds like a lot of money. So
Yeah, some of the cards are expensive.
if anybody has extra Assassin's Creed cards that they want to trade with me, or just
I
give me, or
I'm
whatever,
sending you all my duplicates. I already started sorting them out, so you got at least a handful.
I will happily take them. You can find me on social media and shoot me a message. Just a little plug there, but yeah, because I really want to build 5-color assassins, but just like that sounds expensive. So I'm gonna try to build Ramses first, and then I
Why
can
don't
always switch out once I get more.
Okay, why don't we do 5-color assassins at home? We'll do Ezio and then Maskwood Nexus. Call it a day.
True, I guess. Yeah.
Not as
Um,
fun though.
not as fun.
It's like the placeholder for all the other cards.
Yeah, and like if anybody knows me and how I deck build, I love flavor, and so it's like
Hmm.
if I'm making Ezio as my commander, I want to fit as many Assassin's Creed assassins
Hmm.
in there as I possibly can.
There's so much you could fill into that deck to just
Mhm.
make it work. I mean, really, because of the way the story is with the genetic memory,
Yeah.
it's just revolve it all around Desmond within that, led by Ezio.
Yeah.
That'd be
Again, which is
fun.
why I'm kind of sad that there weren't commander decks because I could have just bought all the commander decks
I was
and made
thinking that,
squish them together to make
yeah,
Ezio.
they could have done just two even and done like an assassins and a Templar deck.
Yeah.
I like the four though that could have been.
Because honestly, if they had done that, they could have had up if you got the bundle, if you got all 4 of the assassins deck, then you got the Ezio card.
Yeah, I was gonna say I was gonna say just package the Ezio in every one of the commander decks, but
No,
do it as
if
a
you get
bundle.
all 4, yeah, if you get all 4, you get the Ezio card because Ezio's 5 colors.
Hmm.
So then you could like
Hmm.
mix and match all your decks to make.
It's like the 14th Doctor card,
Yeah, exactly,
which I
exactly.
still want to do my Chaos Doctor deck where they're all in the original sleeves that I put for the unique decks, all under that one.
Yeah. So I don't know. I like this set. I hope I get to play some of the cards. I hope I get to maybe build a 5-colored Assassin's deck. We'll see. But
Goal for the year.
yeah.
But now we got to start ramping up for Bloomburrow and Dust.
Yeah, that's true. I do really want a trash panda. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to get all of.
I mean, how can anyone resist a commander deck that says make trash, do smash? Like
It's so good.
how can you resist that?
Have you been reading the story or listening to it yet?
I have. I'm not all the way caught up, but I have been paying attention to the story. I'm really excited about it. I do have 2 previews coming out on July 11th, which will be the day after this airs, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
So make sure y'all pay attention to that because I'll be sharing some cards from the sets. Yeah, I'm excited for
Is it?
Bloomburrow, but
We got time till that. Like 5 hours before it drops.
yeah. No problem
Is
at
there
all.
anything else from Assassin's Creed, like kind of you're curious to build something subtle that jumped out at you?
No. Honestly, 5-color assassins was really the like once I saw that, my brain
Couldn't
didn't
handle the rest.
didn't want to do anything else. It just was like 5-color assassins, please. So, yeah. I'm trying to
Totally.
be very good about what decks I'm building and like using my resources so that way I'm not just like building a bunch of decks that I'm not going to play. Because I kind of got into a habit of that this past year where I was like, oh, I'm going to build this deck and build this deck. And then I played them a couple times and I'm like, I don't love this play style. I don't love playing this deck. So I'm trying to be very particular about like what decks I'm building and playing.
I'm doing the
I'm
same. I'm gonna start deconstructing a lot of pre-con.
I'm doing a whole YouTube series right now where I am sorting through my life and Magic. So that literally means taking apart decks, finishing decks I have in progress, sorting my thousands of cards all over my house.
Oh, I need to do that.
So you can body double, watch my YouTube videos and body double with me as you sort your cards. So
I will. Check out that show though; it's fantastic.
yeah. So yeah, I think that's it. I don't need another lore deck. Or saga deck. Lore. I don't need another saga deck. I have an RC one that I absolutely love, so I'm not building another one.
I wanted to build Narcy and I never got around to it. So I think maybe this will be the one.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll try and have some fun with it, see what I can.
Yeah. I feel like this one feels more you anyways.
Yeah. It like the moment I saw that and started reading through what needs to happen.
Yeah.
Now I gotta go dig through, find all my sagas, find some fun things for moving around counters and proliferating.
Yes. Yes.
I promise I won't make it too scary. My decks aren't scary.
That's not true. They can be.
That one time.
No. Don't let him trick you.
It's true. I'm the quiet one in the corner. You were the threat all along. I just work here.
I just work here.
Do you have any appearances coming up in the near term?
I will be at Command Fest Los Angeles in August. I'm taking the month of July off.
Very important. Everyone should take time.
Yeah, for multiple reasons. Again, I'm working on this YouTube series where I'm sorting through all my cards, so I really need the time off to like focus and do that. Also, Nissa's getting spayed later this month, so there's that with the recovery time. So it's like, don't want to go out of town when my dog is having surgery. Command Fest LA, CubeCon, and Vegas are the 3 coming up that I will be at.
I'll be at SCG Baltimore at the end of July, right around the time Burrow is dropping. So that should be a fun time, be a good group from the East Coast showing up there. Then after that, I'll be at next weekend. I'll be at Scrybaby Summer Scryfest.
Oh, I'm so jealous. I wish I could go to that. It's just so far away.
I know that it's a long track, but you just let me know when and video call in, and I will just hand the.
I'll just be like on a yeah, exactly. Oh, I'm so jealous. I wish I could go to that. I love Lua and Tori.
I know they're 2 of my favorite people, and I'm hoping that I know it would be great to see like Steve and Ian, but I'm hoping that Steve brings Chopper.
No.
I gotta meet the boy.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else?
No. Maybe we'll be in Vegas.
Yeah, you'll be in Vegas. We'll both be in Vegas.
I hope we'll both be in Vegas.
We'll have hopefully, I mean, we haven't heard anything yet about like what the Crater Central area is gonna look like yet, but hopefully we'll have some sort of meet and greet, and if not,
we'll be there.
Yeah, we'll both be there, so you can find us.
And we'll hopefully have some new stickers, maybe a 3rd or 4th version by then. Maybe we'll have some new tokens.
Yeah.
You'll have to come find us to see.
I still need our new stickers.
I'll send some your way.
Okay.
I've got a big care package that's just building for you.
Great. I love that.
I'll
work on one for you too.
I keep adding like random stupid little things I find. So now I'm adding Assassin's Creed. Now I'm adding a bag of stickers.
I'll make you a care package too. That way it's even.
Everything evens out in the